With 32 teams in the National Football League, every team is at a different place in their quest to win a Super Bowl. Some are very close, some are between being close and being far, and some are miles away. For every Kansas City Chiefs, there's a New York Jets of the world, and then there's a team in between. While teams in between aren't bad, they're not exactly where a franchise wants to be, and that's average. Average isn't good or bad, as you're a 7-9 or 8-8 team and winning roughly 50% of the team's games, but on the same side of the coin, that's not where teams want to consistently be. That brings us to the topic of today's video, as the Raiders are not in a good situation with the current state of their franchise. As you can see by the title of today's video, we are talking about the Raiders needing to blow things up entirely and completely starting over. We're going to dive into the history, why they need to do this, and the outcome over the next few years if they do not. Before we get started though, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it helps a ton in growing the channel and it would be very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And we start today's video by looking at the Raiders' recent history. The Raiders have made the playoffs once in the past 17 years, which was in 2016, a few weeks after Derek Carr broke his leg on Christmas Eve. They then had Connor Cook start their playoff game as a wildcard team, and not surprisingly, they lost that game. So when looking at the recent history, and we're going to focus on since 2007, rather than going the whole way back to 2002. In 2006, they officially hit rock bottom and had the number 1 overall pick in that upcoming draft. They selected one of the best prospects we had seen in some time in Jamarcus Russell, and he looked to be the savior of the franchise and the future of the then Oakland Raiders. Had this pick work out, then Jamarcus would still be the quarterback there, as he is only 35 years old, and we would now have a rivalry of him and Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, this pick did not work out, and the reason I included this was the last time the Raiders hit rock bottom and hit full rebuild mode. The following 3 seasons, 07 through 09, resulted in a combined 14 wins, and in the 2010s, they had one season with at least 10 wins, and as we said in that season, their then star quarterback got hurt. So to say it's been rough for the Raiders for the past 15 years is putting it lightly, and you could definitely say the future doesn't look all that bright either. They have players like Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, and Max Crosby, and I don't mean to be negative when I say this, but that's not enough to seriously compete in that division. So with that being said, there's a lot to discuss here with the entire Raiders franchise. We're going to get to the quarterback situation and Derek Carr in a minute, but we have to discuss the coach first. Jon Gruden signed a 10-year, $100 million deal heading into the 2018 season, which was 10 years after he last coached the Bucs. Now, obviously, we don't blame him for signing that. I mean, if you're in a position to sign a $100 million deal, chances are you're going to too. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, we all remember him being in the Monday night booth, but his first 3 years of his 10-year deal aren't exactly reassuring for the remaining 7. Even if they win their final 2 games, which are home against the Dolphins and at the Broncos, which would have them finish at 9-7, they have 0 playoff appearances in the first 3 years of the Gruden era. This is an extremely tough position to be in because they have improved every year under Gruden, but that hasn't translated to much. I don't think they're going to finish 7-9 to be clear, as at minimum I do think they will beat the Broncos and finish 8-8, at least that. Anyways, through 3 years they will have records be between 18-30 if they lose out, or 20-28 if they win out, with the 3rd highest salaried coach in the NFL. Gruden is the highest paid, only behind Bill and Pete, and he hasn't had the success those two have had since making an NFL return. Now, what some of you guys may not know here is there is no salary cap for head coaches. So in theory, the Raiders could fire Gruden and hire, we'll say for this just a little hypothetical, Nick Saban to a 5-year, $50 million deal, then fire him after a year and hire somebody else. The owners, which are the Davis family, would owe Gruden and Saban their money, but it does not affect the team in any way going forward, financially that is. So this is a tough decision because in a sense they have improved, but this obviously has not translated to a Super Bowl win. And honestly, with this team having 1 playoff appearance in the last 15 years, forget a Super Bowl win. This hasn't translated to a playoff win or even a playoff appearance. But to be fair to Gruden, the 2018 team wasn't great, and they did improve in 2019. On the same side of the coin, I don't want to sit here and act like I think Gruden is the answer, and by next year they're going to be a 13-win team and compete with the Chiefs and be in the AFC Championship game, because I certainly do not think that either. Now go ahead and ask yourself quickly, how many coaches do you think are above Jon Gruden right now? Off the top of my head, Bill, Pete, John Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Mike Tomlin, even though they lost last night, yes, Mike Tomlin, Sean McVay, and several more. That was 6 that I quickly named when typing this video's script. There's plenty more, and he's definitely not better than any of those guys. Now what this video is saying is how the Raiders can be competitive again and how they can get near the top. This team has not won a division title since 2002, and with Jon Gruden being the head coach, having to go against Andy Reid and then Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, well, Gruden won't win one soon either. And let me say this video so far may come across that I don't like Gruden, but I want to get this clear. The task of having to beat the Chiefs in a 16-game division race would be incredibly difficult for anybody, not just Jon Gruden. The Raiders aren't mediocre strictly because of Gruden, I want to get that clear. But what I am saying is, barring some spectacular change, they're not going to win the Super Bowl under his guidance in the next 7 years either. In order for the Raiders to really have a chance, well, they're going to have to fire him. He's not that good of a coach, and the results have proven that over the course of time. Yes, he is a Super Bowl winner. Good for him and the rest of the 2002 Bucs. I genuinely mean that. But so is Doug Peterson. And how is the general view on Doug right now at this point in time? Well, not good is the answer. In Jon Gruden's last 6 seasons being a head coach, 3 in Tampa in the mid-2000s and 3 with the Raiders, here's how his teams have fared. 4-12, 9-7, 9-7, 4-12, 7-9, and at best this year, because the season's not over, 9-7. The results here are clear, and it's that he's not a great coach. And as we said, he has a Super Bowl title, but these 9 and 7 years will not translate to a title, especially not in the division they're in now. And yes, I get how tough it is to be in that division with the Chiefs there, and maybe the Chargers now too, but Gruden was paid a 9-figure contract to figure these things out and to get over those humps. His previous 3 years from 2003 to 2005 were seasons of 7 wins, 5 wins, and 11 wins. In a league where there's only one first-round bye, and in a division when you're pretty much not guaranteed to win it, the best bet going forward is to hit the reset button and start completely over. The Raiders will not go into the playoffs and win 3 straight on the road to get to the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. I don't think that's being a hater either, it's just, well, it's not going to happen. If I'm wrong, I would gladly own up to it and say congratulations and good for the Raiders, but Jon Gruden's history of a coach more than suggests this is not even close to a reality. I have never understood and will never understand wanting to stay in mediocrity, which is what they're in now. So with that being said, the best bet for the Raiders is for the owners to eat the money and to hire a new coach. And to be clear, the thought process is it's not that Jon Gruden is horrendous. No, I am not saying that at all, and I don't want you to take away that from this video. Adam Gase is an example of horrendous. But what I am saying is Gruden is not an elite coach and will not lead the Raiders to a Super Bowl title in the remainder of his contract. So having said that, we must address another piece in this puzzle that's in a way similar to Gruden at a different position. That of course is quarterback Derek Carr. No disrespect to him intended, but he's not a top 5 quarterback, and he's not going to have a 42 touchdown, 14 win, put the team on my back type year. But the good news is, even though Carr signed a $125 million contract extension a few years ago, the Raiders are pretty much out of all the guarantees. According to SpotRack.com, as you'll see on the screen now, he has just a $2.5 million dead cap hit in 2021. For other situations like the Eagles have right now, this is pennies compared to what they could owe Carr. So in this scenario, to get the Raiders to the top, we have them getting rid of Gruden, which in turn would get rid of Derek Carr. A new head coach would equal a new quarterback, and if I were a Raiders fan, I would welcome it, and here's why. I would rather my franchise take a chance with a new coach and a new quarterback than go into a year with a range of 6 to 10 wins. We've seen the Bills do it with Josh Allen, and it couldn't have worked out any better. I try not to use the Chiefs as a model, because you really can't say, okay, let's draft an MVP winner and a Super Bowl MVP, because there's simply not one of those in every draft. but Josh Allen was a project the Bills turned into a franchise quarterback. And other times, it doesn't work out, like in 2018 when the Cardinals had Steve Wilks as their head coach and Josh Rosen as their rookie quarterback. Now, the Cardinals look to be on the rise because they took that leap between being mediocre and being good. Obviously, we saw them fail miserably in 2018, and that's okay because of what it ultimately led to. The Raiders are essentially in no man's land, and it starts with the head coach and the quarterback. Now, what I want you to take away is I'm not saying the Raiders are awful. I have not once said that, and I will not say that because they aren't. Having 7 to 9 win seasons isn't bad depending on the team, but it's not a place where you want to be stuck for more than a year at most. Either commit to being good or commit to a rebuild, and of course there's obviously things like injuries that take place, but you get the point. Being mediocre can be argued as being worse than what the Jets or Jaguars are right now because of the long-term uncertainty. At least one of those teams will in 6 months have the best quarterback prospect in roughly a decade. That is a bright future. But the Raiders have been consistently stuck essentially in neutral for the last decade, with 1 year fully on the throttle, 2016 playoff season to be clear. Other than that though, it's been a very forgetful decade, and if they continue with both Derek Carr and John Gruden for the next 4 to 5 years, then it could be, and probably will be, another 4 to 5 years of mediocrity. I'm sure they could have a season where they go 9-7 and get to a playoff game, and maybe even win a playoff game. But unless Patrick Mahomes has a season-ending injury, then I don't see any way they run the table and get to a Super Bowl. And to be clear, 9-7 with the 7-seeded system we have now will make the playoffs more often than not, so if the Raiders do make it in 2021, then it wouldn't surprise me one bit. But there's a large difference between making the playoffs and hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. We're more than likely going to hit 15,000 subscribers today, a few days before Christmas, so I appreciate the support very much. If you're still watching, you're awesome. I hope you know that, and we're going to have more videos this week. I'm kind of rambling right now, but if you have any video suggestions, please comment below, and that's all I have. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace. Have a great day.